So here we are. There's Buck. We're in New Hampshire now. It's let's see, what was it? It was 5 or 6 degrees, I guess, below zero last night. When we got up this morning, it was around 2 below, and right now it's about 7 degrees. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and this is where we come. And this is the house. And as you can see, the driveway is fairly wide. There's a reason why it's so wide, because during the winter times we get so much snow, there's nowhere to put it, and it gets very narrow. We've had winters where this driveway's been down to basically space for one car. But this is a good bit of snow for the start of the winter. It's just the beginning of December. The ski area is right through those woods, Cranmore Mountain. It's literally just right there on the other side of those woods is a brook, and that's the ski resort property. And we abut them, and we have this little private road here that comes down. There's a few houses on it. Mostly everybody's from down in Massachusetts that comes here, but it's very nice. And Buck, what are you doing? We have that orange collar on Buck as his halo. Keeps him from going too far and getting into mischief in the area. We had an incident a while ago where he discovered a lady up the street has chickens. She raises chickens and geese, and he was getting into them. Well, he didn't hurt them, but he was trying to get at them, and they had to call the dog officer, and she came over. We know her. She's very nice, and she said, "Look, you got to either keep him in, or he can go anywhere he wants on this property, because the road here actually belongs to my wife and I, and the land here is all private, which is okay, but there are also public streets in the back. Way over there, there's a road, and he discovered that, and he discovered the lady with the chickens. So now we have this, and it sets up an electric boundary for him, and he doesn't wander off. So there we are. Right, Buck? Oh, you chew on that stick. So here we are again. It's Friday, the 5th of December, and as you know, we did a couple of other videos this week. We covered the preview of the Freeman sale that's coming up, and we did the Okada sale, which was very interesting. Check out the Freeman sale and the Okada sale results if you haven't seen them yet. I think they came out pretty well. And as you can see, we're in New Hampshire now. I told you we were coming up, and we're here, and we have a lot of snow, and it was very cold this morning. So we're inside, the fire's going, and we're fine. And I want to talk a bit about some of the results from the last week and a few sales that are coming up. It's a little quiet right now, but there are some sales around. There's an interesting auction that Bonhams is doing in Paris. We're going to cover that at sort of at the end here, and talk about a few other sales that are coming up that you might have missed. One of them is in the United States. It's got some good things in it. It's got some problematic pieces, but I'm going to go through it. And we're going to start, let's see, what are we starting with? Oh, this is just a reminder, the Cultural Revolution sale. I've gotten some emails from people that thought this was pretty interesting. Just a reminder, the sale is coming up on the 8th of December. It's in 3 days over at Material Culture. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you ought to. It's a really interesting sale from a historic standpoint. And I think down the road, people that have collected this material are going to be very glad that they did, from a financial standpoint. But I think it's an opportunity to buy some interesting things, and it does tie into, your interest in Chinese history, culture, and art. It's part of it, regardless of the politics. It's just part of what happens. And what's the other thing that's going on here? Oh, the Mishans out in California. There's that sale that I mentioned a couple of times that had belonged to one of our regular subscribers. She had passed away, unfortunately, and she's got her estate has put a number of pieces, most of her, if not all of her collection, into Mishans, including some very good Kutani pieces and some nice Chinese pieces, like this example here, this plate with the twin birds. I think this is a wonderful looking thing. It's very unusual. And there's some other pieces as well. And those sales are on the 11th and 12th of December, so check those out. And what else is going on here? Oh, the Marcopolo sale took place this week, and on the 2nd, and it did very well. They had some lots passed, just like every auction house seemed to have had this past last couple of months. The October series that we saw over in the UK, we saw a number of lots get passed because in some cases the sellers, they just think their things are worth too much. These days. But a number of things in the Marcopolo sale did very well, including that bronze, and we'll get to that in a second. But right now we're going to talk about this. We had talked about this, I believe, in the preview a few weeks ago, was this very unusual double branch piece of coral, wonderful carving, beautifully polished, really quite exceptional, and it did really well, and not terribly surprised. It ended up going for about $15,000, including the buyer's premium, and it was pretty good size too. It was about 8 inches tall, but a very, very choice carving on it, beautifully done. And then there was the jade incense burner that we discussed, because it appeared to be Qinlong to us, and apparently the audience thought so too. It had a $2,000 to $3,000 estimate, and it went for $83,000 plus the premium. So it ended up selling for over $100,000. It was a wonderful piece of jadeite. Early jadeite wasn't used too much in the Qinlong period. It was sort of a new material toward the end of the period, so you don't see a lot of it typically, but it came into much heavier use after about 1800. But they did get some of it beforehand, and this was in the sale. Absolutely wonderful piece of jadeite, beautifully carved, had those nice rope twist trimming around the edges with the original stand that had the same kind of carving on it. It was a very interesting, it was a good package, as they say. It was beautifully done, and it measured about 8 inches tall, but rare bird, and it did very, very well, as I said. $83,900 plus the premium, which was around 30%, so about $107,000 for the jade. That was a good lot. And then there was, this was in the sale too. Yeah. This aubergine glaze Mei Ping. And I believe we talked about this because I've seen these in the past, and they tend to do very well. And I thought the estimate on this was extremely low, extremely reasonable. Kangxi period were known for doing aubergine pieces like this. This was a nice-looking Mei Ping vase. There's the bottom of it, that wide, flat rim on the base, so forth. But it looked to be a Kangxi example to me. And in the end, it did quite well. It ended up selling for $6,900 against it had a $500 to $800 euro estimate on it, and it ended up going for $6,995 plus the premium. So about $9,000 for it. It was a very nice example, beautiful piece. And then there was the pair of Daishai vases. I thought the estimate was a bit on the low side. I thought they'd probably bring $15,000 or $20,000, and in the end, they sold for $11,600 plus the premium. So they came right in at around $15,000, which I think was a perfectly fair price. If one of you got them, bravo. These are very rare, and there are pairs of these that were in the palace. These were made for the Empress Dowager at her request, and they're quite large. These were other examples of these have been found in museums today that are all historically linked back to the time of the Empress Dowager and the Guangxu Emperor. And these were quite large. These were 75 centimeters tall, so they were about 2.5 feet tall each, but really, really handsome. And I think these were a fantastic buy for someone. I think they were really great. And then on to the main event. This was it, the big bronze from Korea, 13th century Goryeo period example. Very rare, had been in an Italian family collection for 130 years. And they'd given it, they were willing to let it go. They gave it an estimate of 80 to 120,000 euros, which we discussed. We thought it's going to certainly do that. That seemed quite low to us, quite moderate. And in the end, it did very well. It brought 209,000 U.S. plus the premium, or around that. That works out to about $270,000 in U.S. currency, a little over $250,000, which seems very respectable. That's a good result for that. It was a nice piece. As I said at the beginning, I wouldn't be surprised if it brought more. You don't know, because these things are rare, and they don't come onto the market very often. They just don't. There's only been a handful of them in the last 20 years between the major auction houses and the upper mid-range auction houses. They simply don't turn up. So I think this was a good result. I think Carlo should be pretty happy with that. And it was an exciting thing to see happen. And then there was also the lacquered wood sculptures, and these were quite large. These were 186 centimeters tall, so they were about a little over 5 feet tall. And they had an estimate of 50 to 70,000 euros, and they ended up going for 69,000 euros. They're right at the top of the estimate, plus the premium. So you're now up well over the high estimate at about $188,000. I mean, about 88,000, not 188,000, about 88,000 euros, or around just about $100,000, 104,000 in U.S. currency. In U.S. currency, they sold for 80,448 was the hammer price, plus the premium. So you add on another $24,000, $104,000 U.S. But these are very rare, and there's a pair of them in the Metropolitan Museum in New York that they used as a comparable. They were nearly identical. These were actually in better condition than the ones in the Met. Maybe the Met bottomed upgrade. I don't know, but these were quite exceptional, and they did well better than the estimate, so I was very pleased to see that. So overall, the Marcopolo sale, I think, did fine. They had some good pieces. They had some disappointments. Every auction does. That's part of it these days. But overall, it did well, and they have another sale coming up in about 4 days, with a bunch of some other Chinese things in it. So if you bought something from this sale and you haven't had it shipped yet, you might want to go check their next sale if you haven't already, because there are some other Chinese things in there that look pretty good. So you ought to do that. And then on to other results that we saw this week. There was this very nice pair of Amari-style bowls. And I talked about these a few weeks ago because these were massive. These were basins. They measured like 17 inches in diameter. And they had repairs to them, but they were awfully very high quality, beautifully done. And in the end, they did really well. The estimate was very modest. It was that they were only estimated, this was down at Antique Arena in Brooklyn, and they'd only estimated them at $100 to $150. But I think they assumed they would bring more than that. But I think they were just their way of signaling they're not reserved. And they ended up taking off and doing $3,800 plus the premium. So around what does that come out to? About $4,500 US, roughly, somewhere around there. But they were very, very nice, beautiful pieces with repairs. All right, and then over to this. This was the Rippon Boswell sale. We previewed them a few weeks ago. Rippon Boswell is one of the best carpet auction houses in the world. They've been around forever. They handle a lot of major lots of collections, and they specialize only in carpets. But they've been around for a very long time, and they attract some awfully good consignments. And this was one of them. It was a very nice, what they call an eagle group. It's a Turcoman type of carpet, type 3 large tent bag. And this was a pretty good sized one. It was 73 by 166 centimeters. So it was about 5 feet wide. It was a pretty big bag. But it ended up doing very well. It brought $44,000 plus the premium, around $55,000. Very, very attractive, unusual condition. The condition of this bag is quite exceptional, and the drawing on it is extremely delicate and refined. It's just a great looking piece. Over the years, they have all these different groups. How they've in the Turcoman rug, the textile carpet world, you'll see, if you've been doing it for a while, you'll all know what's going on. They have all these subgroups and sub-tribes and sub-names and S groups and this group and that group, and they keep trying to dissect them down into smaller and smaller groups to define where they were made. It's sort of interesting academic thing, I suppose. But that's what they're doing. But this had a significant write-up on it, and apparently they had belonged to Eberhard Harriman at one point, the famous dealer, and these dated to around 1800. This was a very early bag. Very, very early and very, very fine condition. The estimate was only 10 to 14,000 euros, and it blew that away. It went for 38,000 euros because of the condition and the age. It's a very, very crucial thing. And then this was my favorite. I like this actually better. It was this very, very nice Solor torba, as they're known. It's the front of a saddlebag, but extremely fine, beautiful colors. The coloration of this just knocked me out. And it looks like it had hints of silk in certain areas, these bright points in the magenta. But again, it was also in very, very good condition. And condition when it comes to rugs. And this one did very well too, about 32,000 US plus the premium, or about $39,000. And this one was published in Bogolyubov's book, apparently. John Thompson, all the rug guys knew of this piece. And it did fine. Not surprisingly. It was estimated at 20 to 24,000 euros, and it went a good bit above that. So good on that. But overall, it was a pretty successful sale. But there were some buy-ins. So if you're a rug guy or a rug lady, go check out their site. Remember, you can always make offers to buy post-sale. And I recommend people do that. If they see something and they missed it, get a hold of the auction house and just say to them, look, is it for sale? Would you take this for it? And sometimes you get surprisingly good deals because the seller really, after the sale, they don't want it back. Now the cooler heads are prevailing, and they'll say, yeah, sell it, because overall everything else we gave them did really well, especially if they had other consignments, and they did really well overall and above and beyond what they'd hoped for. If they had one or two things that didn't sell, I'll often say, yeah, just sell it to somebody that is interested in buying it. All right, and then over to this. This was that bronze incense burner I really liked a lot. That came up down at Jackson's down in Florida. This sale was just a couple of days ago, and this was a very large incense burner. This is what it was 15 inches tall. It was not a small burner, and it was very well done. And we talked about it a few weeks ago. I know I talked about it in the on the videos on Patreon anyway, because I thought it was just extremely well done. Had a very nice surface, and it ended up going way over the estimate. The estimate, I didn't think the estimate was, I thought the estimate was low, but I didn't think it would bring 50. It brought 5,500 plus the premium, which is in the end ends up at about $7,200. Wonderful example, though. Beautiful, beautiful piece of bronze. And then this was that Kutani Kazeri Subo vase that was sold down at Leland Little. They had their sale this week. It wasn't a big sale, but they had some nice things in it. This, I think, was one of the nicest pieces of Kutani I'd seen in a long, 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 long time. It was beautifully done, and I think somebody got a heck of a good buy. It was nearly a foot tall. It was over a foot tall, 12 and a quarter inches. And I think this was a fabulous buy for someone. It's a very rare type, and it's got this porcelain done so that it looks like a cloth folded over it, but it was very dynamically decorated, beautifully done. And if this had sold for $2,000 or $3,000, I wouldn't have been at all shocked. And I think somebody got a great buy at $750 plus the premium, or around $900, $925. It was a beautiful, beautiful example. So if you're the recipient of this, bravo! It was a good thing. It was a very good thing. All right, and then looking on to some other things that are coming up. There's a few sales coming along I want to talk about. One of them is a reminder. This is the butterscotch auction. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is the Dalsai 8 Buddhist emblem incense burner. Blow it up here. There you go, with the chin lung mark on it. It appears to be period. It's got some restoration on the sides. So the brackets that support they're almost like corbels. The brackets that support the handles have been repaired. There's some repairs to it, but it's a very, very rare type. And I think it's going to do pretty well. I got a feeling it seems to have quite a bit of interest. It's got 104 people watching it. The estimate is 15 to 25,000. It's got a bid already, and I think it's going to probably go beyond the estimate. But we'll see. We'll see. You don't know. But there is a broader acceptance in the market these days of repaired pieces. We've seen it over and over. We saw it with those big basins at the beginning of the video here, where they were given a modest estimate because they had damaged them. They both had repairs. Didn't seem to matter. Didn't seem to matter at all. So we'll see how that does. And then there are these. These are the. This is also in the same sale. These very nice turquoise jardinières, very well done, late Qing, but beautiful quality. Those are going to be in the sale. And then this is coming up. Okay, this is also at Butterscotch. This is an English armorial export platter. It's a big platter. It's 16 inches in diameter and appears to be in outstanding condition. All right, and then everybody knows how important condition is, especially on the enameling on the centers of these plates, because often they get worn off from use over the years. This one evidently didn't get a lot of use as an actual dinner platter, and but it's big and it's very nicely molded, very fine quality. And what's the estimate on this? I think the estimate's pretty low, $800 to $1,200. It's got 38 people watching it. It's got a couple of bids already. But if you collect armorial wares, you might want to look at this. You might want to look at that. It's a good example, and it's very, very nicely decorated. All right, and then hopping along over to this, there's a sale coming up. Now, this is at Black Rock down in Fairfield, Connecticut. And these look like they came out of an estate because they're so similar, but they're not the same, but they're very similar. There are two Meiping vases in this sale with this sort of flambe glaze, almost like a wine color, in the sale with their presentation boxes. There's this one. And there's another one here. They are not the same. There are two. They're very similar, but they're not identical. And these are the kinds of things, if I had to guess, I'm going to bet the people that own these inherited them, and that somebody in their family was in China 100 years ago shopping, or they had a good dealer here in the United States they were relying on, like Yamanaka or somebody like that. And somebody went to China and found these with their boxes. Or they bought them and they had boxes made for them 100 years ago, because these appear older than the boxes. That's the thing that's I find interesting. The boxes look like they were late 19th, early 20th century, maybe made as late as 1920 with this brocade business and all this. But when you look at the porcelains, the bottoms of them and the details of them, these look older. These look like 18th or 19th century examples. The glazes are wonderful on them, and I'd be willing to bet that somebody bought these as early antiques, and then they had the dealer in China at the time had these presentation boxes, gift boxes made for them, because packaging is a very big part of Chinese art and porcelain collecting over in China, and they love good boxes. And the Imperial Palace actually had a special department where they made only boxes in containers in which the emperor would present gifts to people. The boxes are decorative boxes and so forth. They're very important. Or, scroll boxes made of zetan. And there's a very interesting dear Hitoshi Yoshino in commemoration of his service to a higher position. All right, and so it sounds like it was a gift to a Japanese person, and then it came to America somehow. But at any rate, these are nice. They measure. They didn't date them too carefully, too narrowly. 11 and 7/8 inches, so they're both about 12 inches tall. The estimate is $400 to $600, and I'm going to bet they go well over that. I'm thinking $1,500 to a couple of thousand for them anyway, because they're very, very interesting and good looking. All right, and this is the just a couple of pieces that are in that Marcopolo sale coming up. A couple of statues in here. There are several of these Ming roof tiles that are really neat. I like these a lot. And these are big, 42 centimeters tall, so they're about 15, 16 inches in height, but wonderful looking figures. Wonderful looking figures. And you often see these in the West. People used to make them into table lamps back in the 20s and 30s. They were very popular lamp bases, but I love these. Beautifully done. And there's this one. And this is the other one that I like a lot. There's a lot of sense of energy and animation to this one. And again, it's fairly good size. This one is 37 centimeters tall, or around 13 inches. They're estimated at $400 to $600. They have very modest estimates on them. So, in the sales on the 10th over in Italy, if you like these, go over and buy yourself a pair of them. I think they're nice. And there's other Chinese things in the sale that look pretty good too. And then going along over to, this is Topwell's, has a sale coming up. And they got some stuff in here that isn't that great, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of reproductions. You'll see the word vintage. Vintage means modern, all right? It doesn't mean from the 1930s. Vintage generally, if the auction house knows what they're doing and they call something vintage, they mean it was made since the 1970s or 80s, even the 90s. It just means it means late. So always keep that in mind when you see it. But there are a couple of things in here that caught my eye as being rather nice. This is one of them. It's a reverse painting on glass that was probably done in the late 19th century, possibly the early Republic period, but very nicely done. This is a reverse on glass. It's framed, but the quality of the painting is quite excellent. There's the frame. It's got a nice frame on it, too. But the quality of decoration, when you look at the faces of the figures, the way, the pearl whiteness of this woman's face, the very detailed eyes, the way the robes are done with flowers and so forth on them, and the gentleman with the nicely toned skin, the skin tones on his head and around his face are extremely well done. This is reverse on glass, so you start with one layer and you build backwards. It's not like you paint on the front, you start with the background and then you build up on top of it. It's the opposite on reverse on glass, so that you can see it from the other side. It takes a lot of skill to do this. The Chinese were really good at it. And it's why they started doing it, because the British started shipping them sheets of glass so they could do reverse paintings, because they could do them so spectacularly well. But this is look at the woman here. She's got a wonderful face. This is a nice picture. And it's only estimated $300 to $500. It's only got 12 people watching it. I think it's a good thing. And it measures 26 by 20 inches, including the frame. So it's decent size. And then this is also in the sale. Now, this is a Republic or late Qing plate, but it's extremely well done. It's a celadon ground, obviously, with famille rose, and it's got this beautifully decorated quillin in the middle. It's not a shishi, it's not a foulon, it's a quillin, and but it's in very good condition. That's the thing that caught my attention, was it doesn't have any wear to it. Often these late celadons and late pieces, they often got used a lot because they came over to the West in particular when they were actually quite modern. Now, it has a chin lung mark on the back, but if you look at the mark, it's pretty obvious that it's a much later. There's the mark, and it's obviously the way these characters in here are done and so forth. I mean, it's obviously from the front. It's not a chin lung piece, but it's not an early 19th century one either. Not with the application of this mark done in this style. It's generally late Qing to Republic. So buy it that way. But the estimate is fair: $500 to $800, $200 opening bid. It measures 9 inches in diameter. I suspect it's going to come in somewhere around the mid-range of the low estimate, somewhere around there. And also in the sale is this. Now, this is pretty unusual. This is probably a Ming Dynasty. They called it Kangxi period. I think it's a little older. Those lacquered mother-of-pearl cups. And when I first looked at it, I thought it was bent. I thought something had happened to it. And then they showed an overview. I couldn't figure out why the shape was like that. It's shaped like a peach. It's a peach-shaped cup. There it is from above. And this is a very, very nice cup. It's got a little bit of damage to it in one area, but it doesn't seem too bad. But it's a rare form. And you don't see them shaped like peaches very often. You see the round ones fairly often. They turn up at Sotheby's and Christie's and Bonhams, and everybody gets them once in a while. But this one is quite unusual because of its shape. And here you can see a fracture in the lacquer, which happens because they're done on silver typically. And the metal flexes, the lacquer does it, and it cracks it. But it's all there, which is great. And you could probably get it restored if you really wanted to. I wouldn't bother, but. Here's the mother of pearl work. It looks quite good on it, but it's an unusual shape and type. The estimate is $800 to $1,000, $200 opening bid. It's only got 5 people watching it. Now, I think people are looking at it thinking that it's been bent. It's not. That's not bent. That's the original shape. It was done to shape like a peach. And then this is very nice and rather unusual gilt famille rose 4 3/4 inches dish, but very nice quality. And I took a good look at this. I thought it was awfully nicely done, very nicely done. And here you can see the woman's face, the faces here, both women, extremely delicate in the workmanship, very, very delicate work. And it does certainly appear to be an 18th century dish. There it is. It has no border. There's the bottom of it. It's I think it's a pretty sweet dish, as they say. There's this woman's face. If you bring it in, the workmanship looks good. The enamels are nice. And so forth, estimated at $800 to $1,000. It's up to 3 1/4. It's got a couple of bidders. It has 35 people watching it. So that's There's some interest in it. Now, this is something I'm actually preparing a video to talk about these ruby back plates that are starting to turn up everywhere. Be careful. This is not an 18th century one. This is it's either, most of the ones that turn up in the market, 90% of them, 99% of them are either Samson or late Qing, early Republic copies. And they do turn up. There was one that sold in Massachusetts last week that didn't go for a ruby back price because I think people that really knew it wasn't. But they turn up all the time. And there are a number of different aspects and characteristics to them that you can spot them very easily. Very, very easily. And I'm going to get into it, and I'll probably use this as one of them. The big giveaway on this one, just as an aside, is you notice the use of skin tones on the faces. All right, the way they shadow the faces, they give it a little red around the eyes, make it look more naturalistic. They didn't generally do that on the originals. All right, they just didn't. And the use of this cracked ice jar on the right, with these colors in it and that feather coming out of it, you see that a lot used on the late copies. It was a very popular thing, and they used these sort of weak, translucent colors and so forth. There are a number of things wrong with this plate. The width of the upper borders are too broad, and there's all kinds of things wrong with it. And I'm going to go through a bunch of them. I've gathered together about images of about 30 pieces. Half of them are authentic, half of them aren't. And I'm going to go through and talk about them because these should sell for $100 to $200 to $300 to be generous. All right, there's the back of it, and people look at that and they say, "Oh, that's an 18th century one." No, it's not. That is a late Qing example, as far as I can tell. Some of the Samson ones are marked, and people rub the marks off. So if you ever see the back of a ruby back and it's got scratches on it, or you can see the hint of where it's been rubbed a little bit, it probably had a Samson mark and they ground it off. But this is the back of it. It looks like a Chinese foot, but it looks like a late Chinese foot rim. And you want to be very, very careful. So if you have this on a watch list, don't bid on it. It's got 50 people watching it, and it's got 4 bids because I think amateur people that haven't been around collecting very long have decided they want to go after this. If you put this on a watch list, I'm just warning you, it's not a Yong Chen period example. It's a late 19th or early 20th century Chinese or Samson example. Samson made a lot of them, by the way. Samson made a ton of them. Just be very, very careful. All right, now on to this. This is the sale that's coming up over in London. In Paris, rather, at Bonhams on the 11th. And it's an interesting sale. It's got some nice things, and even if you don't want to bid on it, go through because they did provide lots of images. Something that some of the Bonhams operations have been sort of skimpy on, and this one they seem to have decided to show a lot of photographs, which is great because it really, really helps you come to a decision if you're interested in buying something. But there are a number of lots in here that are very attractive. French auctions by the major auction houses. I saw something recently, I guess, was it one of the auction houses, either Christie's or Sotheby's, decided not to do certain types of sales in France anymore because of changes in the laws. They had their first sale in October in London that they've had there in 5 years. I think it was Christie's. But at any rate, this is an interesting sale. There's a few lots that caught my eye. One of them is this. This is a very nice, big Kangxi Femi-Vert baluster jar. And what I really like about this is the jar's use of blue, the overglaze, the blue enamels on here. They really punctuate the visual attractiveness of this piece. They really draw you in. Normally they're not this noticeable, and here they really did it as a strong contrast to these rather soft Femi-Vert enamels and soft aubergine and so forth, but very nicely done. This is a big jar. This jar is 26 inches tall in size. It's quite large. It's got its lid. What is the height of this thing? 25 and 5/8 inches, so it's almost 26 inches tall. It's a big jar. It's estimated at 29 to 41,000 US, which doesn't sound crazy when you take into account the size of it and the quality of the decoration. There's a good photograph of the base here. Very typical Kangxi unglazed base. Now, the bases on the big jars, often they didn't bother glazing them. But this is a really, really pretty example. Very, very nice and very white porcelain, you'll notice. And I love the way they did the birds. The birds always look like they were about to fall out of the sky. They're always sort of, sort of goofy looking. But I like this jar. I think it's very attractive from a composition. Shape is good, colors are good. And then the Mei Ping vase. This is a Qingbai Song Mei Ping vase, and it's a very fine quality one. And it measures it's about 11 inches tall. But the quality of the work, the decoration on this vase is exceptional, as is the glaze. It's nice and even. There's a little blue area at the top here where the glaze pooled a little bit on the shoulder before it flowed down over the pot. But the overall decoration of this pot looks to be very good. You want to maybe get a daylight shot of it if you can to make sure it isn't rubbed anywhere. Sometimes these jars can be a bit rubbed on the surface. This one doesn't appear to be, though. It's rather nice. It's got a slight dark area here. It may have just been a little bit of carbon burning in the kiln right in here. You notice it's a little darker. But other than that, it looks very good. But the carving on it's very strong. It's estimated at 12 to 15,000 euros or 14 to 17,000 US. But it's a nice example. It's very, very attractive. And then over to this. This is interesting. This is a big Zhaijing period jar. It measures 16 inches and is 16 inches wide and 13 inches tall. So it's wider than it is tall, but it's very handsome. It's rather striking. And the cobalt is a nice, that very strong cobalt that you see on Zhaijing pieces. It's a quite excellent piece of Ming porcelain. I like this quite a bit. And we'll see how it does. It's estimated at about 30 to 50,000. It does have a repair down the back. You can see where they took the staples out of it. But it's a very rare type. So I'm going to be interested to see how this does, sort of as a test, because I had said earlier that there's a growing acceptance of pieces that aren't perfect. This is one of them. Now, it's only estimated at $3,500 to $5,800. It doesn't have a massive estimate on it. If this were a perfect pot, it would probably sell for $30,000 to $50,000. I would guess somewhere around there. So $3,500 to $5,800 for this nice big piece. If you don't mind old repairs and whatnot, you could probably get all that restored if you really wanted to. But it's a very nice big pot. It's very generous. I'm one of these people. I don't really care too much about damage. It affects the price, but they don't bother me once I own them. And then there's this giant crack wanli charger. This is a good one, and it looks to be a fairly early wanli example. It measures almost 20 inches in diameter. It's 19 3/4 inches. That's a whopping big piece of wanli porcelain, but the blue and white decoration on it is really quite excellent. If you look here, you'll see that the definition, the outlining is very precise. The filling in of the colors on the rocks and on the flowers is very nicely shaded. You've got light and dark contrast areas. The outer border looks good. There's not a lot of fritting on the rim like you typically see on these wanli pieces. Often the later wanli pieces will have fritting almost all the way around at times. This one is quite a lovely example. It's estimated at 3,000 to 5,000 euros. I think it's worth it. It's a giant platter, 20 inches for these. You don't see those very often. I like it. I think, but the colors are good, and it appears to be early wanli work. Because of the back of it is so nicely finished. The later ones tended to be rather sandy and messy. This one is very nicely finished all the way around. Looks good from what I can see. That looks very nice, and we'll see how it does. And the other thing is this. This is a big piece of Famille Rose from about 1780. It's Qinlong, of course. It is 27 inches tall. And this was part of probably a garniture at one point. And it's got the very familiar Mandarin scene on it, the diaper pattern. It's got mask handles with rings on them, which you don't see too often on these. And you go up, and it's still got its original lid with a Fu lion on it, but 27 inches tall. This is a great big one. And the last few of these of this size that have turned up, that have been in good condition, have brought $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. There was one a few months ago that we discussed that was rather severely rubbed and so forth, but it still did about $7,000 or $8,000, as I recall. This is a very nice one. It's estimated at only $4,000 to $6,000. The estimate is very low on this. It's got an extremely low estimate. I think it should sell based on what they've sold elsewhere for in England and the U.S. and so forth. It should sell for between $12,000 and $15,000 and maybe more. I've seen them sell for more, but we'll see. But that's an opportunity. If you've been looking for one of these, you might want to check out that. And then the important statues, the guardians, the celestial guardians. These are one of the 4 guardian kings that were supposed to have been. The story is that they were present at the time of Buddha's birth to protect him. Now, they typically made them in sets of 4, but I think the last set of 4, according to the notes at the bottom here, the last set of 4 that came up in the auction market of any scale and size was back over 27 years ago. They don't turn up very often, and these are bronze. They're about 16 inches tall. They're gilt bronze. They're Ming Dynasty, and they are really nice quality. If you pull them in and look at them, notice the way the mask is done, the curls of the hair and so forth. All the little details on this are really quite exceptional. And we'll see how they do. Now, they got a good estimate on them. They're estimated at 200,000 to 300,000 euros, or 230 to 350,000 in U.S. currency. But they're extremely rare. These things are extremely rare. They were known to have been made during the Yuan and the early Ming Dynasty, typically. And these are in incredibly good condition. And to be able to get 2 of them in this size in one bite is a big opportunity. Most of these were made of wood. Most of the ones that turn up in the market are made of wood with pigment on them and so forth. That's typically how they did them. Occasionally they did them out of stone, but not very often. But these are cast bronze, and they appear to be in wonderful condition. All right, and then over to this, there's a very, very nice Qianlong period basin with a dragon on it. It measures about 8 inches. It's not terribly big, but wonderful quality. There it is, and beautifully decorated all the way around. I love the dragon, and he's got the 5 claws are out, and they almost look like there's like a pinwheel. Beautifully done, but nice dark cobalt color. I believe this one is mark and period. Hold on. Yep, there it is. Good example. And again, Qianlong, and it's estimated at 30 to 50,000 euros. See how that does. It's a good piece of porcelain. And then this, I actually like this one it doesn't have the Qianlong mark on it, but it is an 18th century one, and it measures 25 inches in diameter. It's a pretty big basin. I think this is a wonderful thing. The estimate's 20 to 30,000 euros, but it's wonderfully decorated. I love the decoration on it with it looks like you got Shaolu here, maybe 2 of the 3 star gods. I don't know if this is one of them. And all the children running around bringing them flowers and gifts. This one's carrying a lotus. And it has that sort of pencil drawing of the clouds in above, very finely painted. This is very, very finely painted. There's the interior of it. But remember, this is big. It's got staple repair around the bottom. I know it's been damaged, but it's a monster of a piece of porcelain, and the decoration on it's wonderful. I don't mind the repair. I think it's okay. And if it didn't have that repair on it, the estimate would be a lot higher. This is a big piece of Qianlong porcelain. It's a very, very big piece, and I'm going to bet there's some research on it somewhere on these things because it's so large. All right, and then the last one we'll talk about is this very interesting Millefiori gilt ground double gourd vase. If you like Millefiori, late Qing, second half of the 19th century porcelain, this is a nice one. It measures almost 14 inches tall, which is quite unusual for these. And there it is, but the decoration on it's in wonderful condition. Very good yellow up here. Nice color palette overall everywhere from what I can see. And it's estimated at 6,000 to 7,000 euros, but it's big and it's beautifully done, and the enamels are all intact. The gilding hasn't been rubbed off and all that good stuff. So that's sort of all that's going on right now. If you've seen something out there that you find interesting, let me know in the comments. And I read the comments every week. I don't always comment back, but I do read every comment that comes in because I'm very curious to know what everybody's interested in, what it is you're doing and so forth, because it's always good to get feedback from other people who are collectors and dealers and auctioneers and so forth, because it's a fun way to get involved in all this. So leave a comment, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, though, here on YouTube, please do. It helps, as they say, as everybody, the YouTube creator says, it helps the algorithm. It actually does. It actually makes a big difference in getting exposure for the channel, and we do like to see it grow, like all things. So please subscribe if you haven't so far, and join us over at Patreon. We've put a bunch of things up there this week. If you haven't checked your Patreon account this week, we put up a couple of very interesting articles. One of them was a story we found about about how the West viewed the way the palace thought about their collection, and how the palace actually thought about the collections inside the imperial palace. And it goes through it, and the Western view of art versus the Asian view of art. It's a very interesting story. It's about 22 pages. It's in magazine. As you know, we're now publishing over there in magazine format, as well as downloadable PDF files. So if you want to take it on your phone to read on the train going home at the end of the day, or whatever it is you're doing, you can do that. And we put a few other videos up there this week too, and some. What was the other thing? There was something else. I forget. At any rate, it's been busy. So thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. All right. And we're going to be up here enjoying the early winter. All righty. Bye-bye.